Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colynn
And I'm Meridee.
and welcome to Spiritual Sisters of Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colynn. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meridee?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colynn here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters of Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Spiritual Sisters with Sass. We are so excited to have you on. We all have another special guest on this week, and we're super excited about this. Lynn, please introduce our guest.
Yes, so we're welcoming Rudy Daniels here today. Rudy is an author, a philosopher, and an entrepreneur that has spent the last decade really diving deep into mindful living, meditation, and the mysteries of consciousness. So we've asked him to come on and share a little bit more about the power of mindfulness in daily life and finding balance and navigating the journey of self-discovery. So thanks for joining us today, Rudy. Would you mind giving us a little introduction and telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm certainly happy to be here. I think you've said it all. So I'm an author of a book called Behind the Mask, Beyond the Mind, in which I talk about the nature of reality and my encounters with the universe for the past 40 years. And it's a subject that I love so much to talk about what is, because we mainly speak about ideas, but I like to speak about what is. Besides, I'm an entrepreneur. Me and my amazing co-founder, Roy, we launched the Affirmate app, which is a special, unique mindfulness app. We can discuss it later if you like. I'll be happy to tell you a bit more. Besides, I have the cutest dog in the world, which is a fact. You can check me.
I don't know. I'll fight you on that one because mine is just saying.
Don't go there. No. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What really drew me to what you were saying is the mindfulness aspect of things. So mindfulness is a big part of yoga, and it's also made its way into school systems without the yoga term of things. It's called Mind Up in a lot of school systems in Canada. We're both from Canada. And it's also made its way into, I used to be a nurse. So it was making its way into the healthcare field, not only for the nurses to find self-care, but also as a way to support patients in finding like peace for IVs and stuff. So I'm loving the innovation of bringing mindfulness into everyday life. There's MBSR, mindful-based stress reduction, which made its way into the corporate world as a way also of yoga nidra, helping PTSD with vets, etc. So what I read from what you were putting out there was like you've found an innovative way to bring mindfulness into everyday life. And I would love to hear more about that.
Yes.
Great. So maybe let's just do some terminology set up here to set kind of the scene for what is mindfulness.
Great.
So we have all these different methods, like yoga and meditation and different practices. Most of them come from the East, and there is a sort of mix up with terminology. When people talk about mindfulness and meditation, they talk about it synonymously. So I would like to make the distinction. So meditation is a practice that was imported from the East. It's a method that goes back thousands of years and has a lot of cultural context and background and understanding to it. So when we imported it to the West, we kind of did it in a very go get it attitude. So people, when they're meditating, they're treating it as like a sport. You know, I'm meditating for 10 minutes a day, and that should improve me. But this is not the case at all. In fact, the word itself, meditation, in English is to think about something, to meditate deeply on something, which in the Indian tradition is not the case. It's just our being stripped away from all concepts. So this is why a lot of people, when they try meditation in the West, they feel it's so difficult, although the premise is great, but it is so difficult to close your eyes even for 10 minutes and try to think of nothing, or to calm your mind, or try to resist your mind in any way. You will find out pretty quick that it's impossible, or it's very, very difficult and required a lot of efforts and a lot of practice. And that's why people give up on meditation, which is too bad. But the good news are that mindfulness is here. And what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is a kind of the backdrop of all these methods. It is, as the word actually suggests, it is being full of mind, or being mindful means being totally invested and present in the immediate thing that you're doing right now. So, for example, it's an example that I love to give, but I'm drinking coffee right now, so I will use it. There are two ways of drinking a cup of coffee. One way would be just drink it, and for the sake of caffeine or sugar or whatever it is, the taste. It's like a mechanic thing that you do every day. But if you treat this cup of coffee as a mindfulness act, then you will just break it down into phases and be deeply invested in what you're doing. So that means you can hold the cup and feel the sensation in your hands as they're getting warmer through the cup. And then you can smell the aroma and let it play with your senses. And after you did that, you take a sip and you feel how the textures play with your inner organs, with your mouth, with your tongue. And then you swallow the coffee and follow the motion through the body. So this is the concept of mindfulness. Mindfulness is just being fully aware and present, and it doesn't really matter what you do. So there is no special kind of practice for mindfulness, although you can develop many, many practices on this platform, including breathing, chanting, cooking, talking to someone, or walking. You can do whatever you want. And what it does, it's because it's really experimental and something that it's easy to test. You don't have to hold strong to any theories of what may happen if you meditate for 10,000 hours or something like that, and what you will become in the future. You're trying to project some future better you. But mindfulness, you will see the immediate effect right away, because it becomes apparent to you that the world has much more than you usually perceive when you do things slower and you're invested in what you're doing at the moment. So this is the ground for mindfulness and meditation, and what I'm doing with mindfulness. So for your question, the way we innovate mindfulness is through technology. So we know that today a lot of people uses their phones, and mostly not in a good way. You're doom scrolling, you're wasting your time on social media, etc. And we're using this very instrument that brought so much anxiety and stress and depression to people to make a fun, engaging, and short mindfulness experience. And our app Affirmate does just that. So you have this quick 90-second mindfulness practices, and you have all these cool things that you can do. And the innovative part is that you're turning this practice to be something fun and meaningful, instead of treating it as like a chore, like something you have to do to get better. And anything that you have to do and you treat it like a chore will eventually fatigue you, and you will drop the method. And yeah, so this is my take on mindfulness and the way we go about it. I hope that answers your question.
I love that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I really appreciate that, because one of the things that I teach on the regular is it's about yoga in general, right? When I say yoga, most people see doing some fast-paced practice, right? In a studio and moving as fast as you can, blah, 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 blah. Yet when I teach others about yoga, like really what I'm hearing you say is mindfulness is yoga. Because for me, yoga equals balance. And in order for you to attain balance, that means that you need to be present. It means you need to be present in the moment, every moment that you're able to be present in, including if you're doing the dishes, right? When you're doing the dishes, do the dishes. But how many times, like this is such a thing that never stops. We have to do every day. Otherwise, either you're destroying the environment or you have a really messy kitchen, right? And how often are you really present to washing the food off the plate, rinsing the plate, putting the plate over here? Like usually I'm, my mind is off with my to-do list and all the other things I'm going to do after I'm done the dishes. So every day when I share, I talk about yoga, bring yoga into your life. What is your yoga? And so I feel like there's a really like a close link and a different perspective on yoga being mindfulness.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And like I said, everything can be mindfulness. Mindfulness is the platform in which you practice whatever thing you like to do. If it's yoga, it's yoga. And if it's cooking, and whatever it is. So I'm totally with you.
Yeah. And that's the piece, is like within the Yoga Sutras, one of the things, like the very first sutra says now yoga. And then and the sutras are like, let's say a Bible of yoga. So then there's 195 other sutras that explain what the first one meant. And so my interpretation, after going through so many different versions and translations of the sutras, is like, now yoga is like, everything is yoga. And then the other 195 affirmations are telling you how everything is yoga, including the fact that meditation itself is not mindfulness. And even what I heard you say was like this idea of like doing meditation, when in actuality, meditation isn't something you do, it's something that happens to you after you find a space of going within and then intensely focusing on that. So if you look at it this way, they're completely different things. They can be related. You can be mindful in your meditation, but mindfulness, like you said, is something that you could have every moment of every day if you were willing to wake up enough to see that, and your whole life and perspective would change.
You're spot on. It's absolutely the truth. And meditation, it's something that unveils itself rather than something that you can achieve.
Right.
So you can achieve deep states of relaxation in sitting down and calming your body and your mind. But true meditation is your basic being. So it's only something that you can unveil. And to do that, you have to have the right set and settings. And the mindfulness practice will eventually give you exactly that. It's what I call a crack in reality, in which you see through the crack that life is much more profound and significant than it looks for an adult. I mean, children see that all the time, but for adults, we forget it. And this is mindfulness. This is our opportunity to see it again.
Right. I love that. I mean, I have a million places to go, Meridee, but Do you
I love that this synergy between like awareness and mindfulness, because I don't know that I've like actually brought the two together into one, even though essentially that is what it is. Like for me, mindfulness, thinking, being aware, which is that awareness, but to tie the two together is just such a perfect synergy, because that's exactly what it is. Mindfulness is being present right now, slowing yourself down and being aware of what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're saying, what actions you're taking, instead of being stuck in your habitual movements. Like Lynn said, like when I do dishes, I'm thinking of the million things that I need to do when I'm done my dishes. You know, loading the dishwasher, or loading my washing machine to do laundry. I'm thinking about, okay, as soon as I'm done this, what I'm going to go do, not like the actual act of what I'm doing. So it's just really interesting to go there. And I mean, how many people are like, I just need to be more present focused? Okay, so in other words, be mindful right now.
Yeah.
I agree, and I would even say that you can replace the word mindfulness with awareness. It's the same thing. Awareness is being totally aware, and mindfulness is being full of mind, which is the same thing. Being totally aware at what you're doing, being so engaged, and people overlook it because they think that being aware is something mundane. But I, I promise you that it is not. If you just follow your breath, it's like a very simple thing. You will find out that there are so many ways that you can follow your breath, so many points of attention that you can give to your breath that may have eluded you throughout all this time. And you will find out that, oh, wow, breath is much more complicated than I thought, and it has so many processes. And then you are fully aware. But eventually what needs to happen is you will become aware of your life, which is the greater, bigger picture.
Right.
And this is the platform for it. So I'm totally with you, and these are the same words: awareness and mindfulness. So
Right.
beautiful.
So my question is, can you tell us a little more about the book that you wrote? I'm curious as to like what do you get into in the book? And then share with us as well. If you share with us the link as to where you can find this book, we'll also put it in the link below when you guys are listening to the podcast.
Sure. So the book Behind the Mask, Beyond the Mind is basically some sort of journal from one person point of view. And in this book, I cover my life from childhood throughout adolescence and to being an adult. And the reason I do that is because I'm not trying to create some new dogma or belief system about what you should do or what is the best solution for you. What I'm trying to show in my book through a sort of a dialogue with the reader is to present questions that may have escaped the reader's mind throughout the years. Some things like the polarity of things or the duality of things. These are simple philosophical questions that a lot of people have, and certainly throughout the Eastern traditions. But I take it more from a Western mind point of view, and I'm pointing at events in life, and then I challenge the reader to think about their lives. My personal journey was such that in my childhood, I had a lot of what now I would call mystical experiences, in which I saw the world as something amazing and beautiful and profound. And I found so much magic, and things that were happening to me as a child, they kind of stuck with me. And when I became an adult and life has become a sort of a drag or something that is very mundane, predictable, and kind of dull, I began to remember all these childhood wanderings that I had. With the tools I had as an adult, I was able to think about them and kind of analyze them. And from there, a lot of questions about consciousness came. The basic stuff like, who am I anyway, that thinks about all these things, and what is the universe? Why I take it for granted? It's kind of bizarre that everything that happens here actually happens. It would be much easier if there was nothing. So why? And this is kind of the agenda of the book is exploration. It's it's a way for me to put all my thoughts into one place, because it's quite difficult to talk about it for so long with people. So I figured out maybe I should write it, and it will be easier for me, to get rid of all these thoughts on paper. And this is what the book is about. And it's on Amazon and most platforms, and you can also listen to the audio version. And I'll be happy to share the link with you. You can put in the show notes.
Thank you. Yeah, as you're talking, I think this brings me back to the idea of dissociation, right? Mindfulness, you were talking about breathing, right? We breathe 24/7. Like, in fact, we breathe 12 to 20 breaths per minute. And so if we start to add that up, how many breaths one takes in a year, in a couple of years, and I just want to know how often, for our audience, how often it is that you're present to even 10 of your breaths. I mean, this is why I love yoga as a studio practice, because a lot of the time, well, I mean, even teachers just are like, let's just vinyasa, let's just push really hard. But some teachers bring us back to our breath, back to realizing that there's this process that if you don't do for like 2 minutes, you're going to die. And that's how unaware and disconnected we are to our own bodies. And if we bring in mindfulness, like you sit here and you breathe and you stay connected to even where the breath is coming in on the nostril, and then follow that breath all the way to the back of the throat, all the way down into the lungs, breaking off into all the branches, into the little sacs that blow up, and do the oxygen exchange, and then follow that carbon dioxide molecule back out. This is just like one simple way that you can connect to your body. Yet we're society as a whole, and I don't love talking general and vague, yet it's a way that we can stay disconnected and dissociated from ourselves. And recognizing like we're doing these life-saving or life-sustaining practices on the regular that we don't even give a second thought to. Your blood stops pumping and you will die. Yet how involved are you in your own heart and all that's going on in your body? No, you're up here. I'm fat. I'm stupid. That person doesn't love me.
I'm broke.
Right?
Yeah. It's so interesting because we just don't think about the things. And then too, for me, as you're talking, I'm like, I can just picture me telling a few of my clients this and then being like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then they start thinking about like the right now, but then they feel this like, well, I'm not thinking about all the other things that I need to do. So that's going to like mess up my life, except it's not, because we need to slow down to get back to like the purpose of being on this planet is not for us to accomplish all this money, for us to accomplish, to buy a house, to raise 2 children. That's not the reason you're here. And yet we completely walk away from that side of everything. And then when we do pull back to that side, we start panicking about the fact that we're not in the future. We're not worried about what's going to happen in 5 minutes. We're not worried about what we're going to do tomorrow. I'm not worried about, like, oh, when I'm done this podcast, all the things that I need to do. Instead, as you're talking about my breath, I'm actually like focused on it. But it was interesting because my brain also went to, again, even just telling my client, that's future-based. Even sitting in it thinking, and I literally had that moment of like, but if I'm focused on this, I'm not focused on all the things that I have to do. And it just was like, such an overwhelming sensation of holy shit, look at how far we are from where we need to be.
Or
and
even
I practice
just
mindfulness.
changing the language from where we need to be to where we could be.
Yeah.
I think you raised a great topic, and this is something we should touch on. So what you're saying, basically, if I should be aware always, let's say I should be always aware of my breath, what will happen with all the rest of my life? I need to function, I need to go to work, I need to do all these things, I have responsibilities, etc. And if I'm trying to be focused on being present all the time, that means how we'll handle life, right? So that's a great topic. And my answer to that would be very simple. It's very hard to talk about it in terms of linguistics, because we are used to a world of quantity. We try to figure out the world in quantity and not in quality. So let's say if I'm trying to convince you to listen to a certain symphony by Bach, for example, and I'm very articulate, and I'm telling you all these wonderful things and notes and all the changes in amplitude and frequency in the music, and then even, I'm going to artistic lengths, and I'm trying to explain the geometry of the music, but it will be a whole different experience when you listen to it. So there's a big difference between quality and quantity, and people mistake these kind of things. So this is where these questions are coming from, like, what is the math? How should I do that? So it's very easy. You don't have to be aware all of the time, because that will keep you away from living. Even if you're aware of your breath all the time, this is the only thing you can do. You can sit and be aware of your breath. But this is not the way it works. The way it works is more something like music. So you practice music at the beginning. I play the guitar. So when you start learning music, you're kind of building a platform in your mind. You're opening a door to something new. And with time, as you do it, the setting in your mind changes, and you are more receptive to music. You are more sensitive to music. And with time, this skill, it opens up the door. It cleanses the door of perception that you have before you really heard music, to the point that you really do. So it's the same thing with mindfulness. You begin by being aware of something really small, like breathing or drinking a coffee or whatever it is. And you do it from time to time. You don't have to panic about it and do it all of the time. You just do it from time to time. That gives you the opportunity to build this platform in your perception. It opens the spectrum of sensitivity, of your sensitivity to the world and to yourself. So with times, it kind of plays out by itself. It happens on its own accord. You don't have to force it. You just have to let this music come in, the music of mindfulness, the music of nature, the profoundness of life. It will flow through you, and it will happen on its own accord. You just have to build the platform. We don't know where creativity comes from. For example, we can just build the platform for creativity, right? When I play the guitar, I'm not sure that my next note will be something genius, or it will be the next new hit or something like that. It happens on its own accord. I just need to build the platform for it. So it's absolutely the same thing. Practice small things. With time, it will unfold for you. And you will not notice it, like the breath. You said it very beautifully. Like if you stop, you die, but you don't think about it. It happens on its own accord. But if you think about your breath, then you're panicking about that you need to breathe. And if you stop, you will die, and you're trying to breathe. But once you forget about breathing, it happens on its own accord. It's just a thing that happens by itself. So it's the same thing.
I think that is really insightful. I appreciate that so much. I hope so many of my yoga students are like my yoga teacher students are listening to this, because one thing that I focus on when we do actually the breathing aspect of yoga teacher training is exactly that. I say, how many breaths are you having? And we usually use a calculator and break it down. You have this many breaths per day, per year. How many are you actually present to? And therefore, most of the time, for a lot of people, the only time they're actually present to their breath is when they're in yoga. So it's like creating that space for quality of presence, quality of breath. And then I really think that's important, especially in our languaging, because when we're running classes, we just say like breathe or take 5 breaths here, and then we're moving on, and people haven't had the chance to take 5 breaths here. they haven't been instructed on how to properly breathe. And therefore, I come back to like, first of all, let's be aware of what we're saying. So let's be mindful of the cues that we're giving in class, but also creating a space where people that come to class get that quality, get that time to be really present in their body, because we do know when they leave, they're probably not going to think about their breath again until they come back to yoga again. So I do love that, because that like almost brought me back. It like slingshotted me back to, you are not going to be present 24/7.
Yeah.
But when you are present, it would be really helpful to like have a great quality to that presence. And
What this also brought up for me is how we don't become present until, this is so similar when it comes to laser quit too, is like we're not present to something until it's not there. Do you know what I mean? So like you don't notice that you breathe or how easy it is to breathe until you're struggling to breathe,
right.
until you're doing intense cardio, or until you get a cold and now it feels like someone's sitting on your chest, or until you find out you have COPD or lung disease, or any of those things. We're not present until we're forced to be present.
Right.
If we can practice presence, you're going to notice things like that before they start to actually happen to you. So you might notice, hey, you know what? My lungs don't feel quite the same today. And then if you notice it slowly progressing, maybe you can catch it before it's done too much damage. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that plays into all of our mindfulness. So not just us talking about the breathing. The breath is where we should start, because it's something that is so automatic for us and our body just takes over and does it. But if we can slow ourselves down and become conscious of what it is and mindful about this effect that it's having, when it changes, we can now see it change. And that way we're not waiting for something bad to happen, because how many people will say to you, oh, I had no idea. And it's all because we aren't mindful. We're not aware of, the way my body's reacting to something I drank, or like, and I have many examples of this in my life where even like an allergy to something, when they always say hindsight is 20/20, right? So for me, an allergy to something, once I realize I have the allergy, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I see how that was coming. But I didn't notice it until it hit me hard enough to smack me in the face and slow me down and make it so that, like, I don't know, like maybe my face swole. Well, now the whole world is going to see that I'm allergic to whatever it is, when I could have probably prevented that from happening if I had been paying attention the last 20 times that I had done the thing that caused my face to swell.
That's a great insight. Yeah, I like that.
So
I was about to say the same. It's a great insight. And I would call it the art of life. Once you begin living mindfully, you can predict these things. You can see them. What people call, there's a phenomena, a lot of people talk about synchronicities. So it's the phenomena that it seems to you for a split second that everything is connected. But I grant you that nature is synchronicity. It couldn't be any other way. So when you see synchronicity, you just slipped into a mystical experience. Yeah. And it happens when you are sensitive. So what you were saying is, if I'm mindful of my life, I will get the clues before it happens. And that might be a wake-up call, or that may be what we call intuition, saying you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing. And this comes from being aware. This is the art of life.
I feel like, like that was it right there. I feel like this is the whole reason that we did this, is because we need that moment of, of mindfulness. And we sometimes need something to pull us into that mindfulness. But I feel like that's what this whole thing was about. Take a minute, you guys, and really become aware of even just starting with your breath. Start multiple times throughout the day. Set reminders on your phone so that you can have these moments throughout the day of awareness. And then if you notice, say you're even just noticing your breath 3 times a day, what if your breath changes tomorrow? Okay, I've noticed it. And then what if it continues to change every day, but you're not showing any signs of sickness? Now you're able to catch something before it actually starts. So not becoming a hypochondriac, that's not what I'm saying, but mindfulness, become aware so you can notice.
Yeah, I love that. Rudy, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the app? Is it like on iOS, Google Play? What's the name? I know you said it, but let's say it again and tell us a little bit more about it.
And thank you, by the way, for the opportunity to speak about it. It's something
Yeah.
that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
So the app is Affirmate. It's available both on iOS and Android.
Okay.
To recognize it, you will see an A logo with a vibration
Oh,
inside.
cool. Okay.
Yes. So the idea of Affirmate is exactly what we talked about. It's small, fun, and really engaging practices that you can do on a daily basis.
Okay.
Our slogan is "You are what you repeat," which is similar to "You are what you eat."
Yeah.
But you are what you repeat. So if you repeat these small practices that we have developed, it will open this opportunity for you. So yes, exactly. This is
I just pulled
easy.
it up for those who are not on the YouTube. I did just pull it up. When you pull it up, it's an A with like a vibration through it. It is very cool looking, you guys. It's like it's got a circle with like some things going around. It says powerful mindfulness tool. You'll know that you have found it. It says mind body presence and then dash affirmate. And it
Cool.
gives you the opportunity to get it. So wonderful.
Amazing. Thank you for that. It's a better description than I gave, and to recognize the app. And so we have all these cool practices inside. Like just let me talk about one of them, which is 90-second meditation or 90-second mindfulness that we have developed. It's something that I saw in a dream 3 years ago, and that was the beginning of Affirmate,
Okay.
actually. So in the dream, I saw a very unique way to mindfulness. And when I woke up, I remembered the dream and I kind of organized my thoughts around it. So what we did basically is we are taking positive self-affirmations from different categories. And then we take those affirmations, and with a special technique we have developed, we are breaking them down to sound and light vibrations. And you take an item, like a totem of yours. It could be a ring, a necklace, or something, a crystal, something that matters to you, something
Yeah.
that you use on a daily basis. And while you're doing the practice, you're putting the item on the screen, and the thing you were referring to, the thing in the circle that vibrates, it actually infuses the affirmation, but in a different kind of way, with light vibrations. And then when the practice is done, the ring or the necklace is your reminder for your intention. So let's say that you chose something like gratitude, and you feel a lot of gratitude in the morning, but then you go about your day and you forget about it, right? Like that's a common thing. But with Affirmate, you have the ring. So accidentally, you take a look at the ring during the day and you're like, oh, I had this intention of gratitude for today. And this is what we're calling a tangible connection. So this
Cool.
was the first practice we developed, and we have now 4 cool practices that you can check out. And our idea is to further develop it to be a platform for mindfulness, but in an innovative way, not in a way of the regular teaching, which is listening to an instructor, but more try it yourself, do it yourself, engage with it. And yeah, so this is the premise behind the app. And
Cool.
as I said, we just launched a few months ago, and it's been going well, and people are happy. And this makes my day, really, when I wake up.
Nice. That's
Love
awesome.
it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rudy. And we will share kind of all the links, etc., in the description part of the podcast. And thanks everyone else for joining us. And namaste. Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. 2 sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colynn and Meridee Lockoff, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.